Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian if you happen to be new around here, and I do want to say a special thank you guys for those of you who have stood with the channel, who stood by my content while I've been on a hiatus throughout the course of Lent. For those of you who don't know, I took the entirety of Lent off from content creation, video gaming, gaming news, and honestly, I'm more excited than ever for the future of these MMOs, these video games. I feel rested. I feel just so good. And we actually have a little bit of good news because today we also have confirmation that they have filmed the dev update video, which maybe we'll be rolling out next week, which we can do maybe a live reaction to that and discussion of that. This is where the roadmap really starts to hit the road, because it's no secret that New World is in a very big lull right now, as to be expected, as kind of as their pattern ends up being, where the hype season, the time that you really want to play, is September, October, November, and then the rest of the year just kind of does its thing. And the winter update really wasn't what people wanted to kind of keep, especially the veterans. This New World Eternum wasn't the game to bring a lot of the veterans and keep them playing. It was a great introduction for console, a great introduction for the game in and of itself, a great refresh. I'm very pleased with how New World Eternum runs and operates. Personally, one of the things on the roadmap, cross progression, that's going to be huge for me. But anyway, as I kind of get back into it, as I kind of catch up on what's been going on, a couple months ago, Jay put out this video. New World's kind of making me angry, and I thought I would sit down and kind of react to it, see what he's feeling. And obviously, as next week kind of rolls in, we'll be doing some fun stuff on the channel. If you guys enjoy this content, that like button is a huge help. That subscribe button, maybe we can get more than 3 subscribers. It's the fact that we didn't lose anybody is awesome. So anyway, all of that being said, we're going to have some fun. Let's let Jay take it from here.
New World is kind of making me angry at the minute. They've done a couple of things recently that I really liked, and a couple of things that I really didn't. So we're just going to talk about the state of New World in 2025. Right, so what have they done recently? They've done a couple of different things. Let's start with New World Eternum, because that was basically the unofficial relaunch of the game, although it was pretty much the launch of the game. This is when they obviously made the game for console, which I think was a good idea. Everything there just made sense. The game plays well on controller. Everybody's kind of happy with the idea of it being on console. There's a question there about aim lock and the magnetism that you get when you use a controller. Most PvPers are probably not in favor of that, at least the ones on PC, especially with the increased magnetism. I don't want to go on about it here, but aim lock, bit of a problem with its introduction with the controller / console. And you know what? I was kind of happier with New World Eternum than I expected. That season, that patch brought a couple of different things. Yes, it brought a reworked leveling experience, and yes, it brought Fresh, which I did go ahead and complete and, you know, actually participate in. But it also brought the first proper raid, which was a multi-boss dungeon, basically, that was made for 10 people. It also brought the free-for-all PvP zone. I'll not go over everything that they added and changed, like, bit by bit, because, you know, the video would take forever. But I would say that the PvP free-for-all zone, I think, ultimately has been a complete failure. A lot of people were just going in there for their coconut and getting out. There wasn't really any reason to stay and fight. However, for the first like week or two, I actually really enjoyed it. People were just going in and fighting and having a good time. It then sort of started to get a little bit sweatier. People just going in there with like insane 1v1 builds and just wrecking face. And then
I jump in on this because I did participate in that. It was a lot of fun. It does change the game, but it's obviously very isolated, so it's optional. Then they introduced the seasonal worlds PvP, and that's more faction driven, always on PvP, and that's to be kind of expected. And my hope is that maybe we'll get to see like a season where it's just like everything's just free for all, and then see what that actually entails. But we'll see.
People realize that I have no reason to go there, so I'm not going to go there. Just recently, Amazon have made it so that you don't get the coconut from the first chest. In theory, trying to extend the amount of time that you are in the free-for-all zone. However, I think that's the wrong solution. I think it's literally just a case here where they should just suck it up and admit that it was a bad, failed idea. I don't think frustrating people and making it longer is actually making it better. I would personally consider revamping this entire zone to something else in the future. The thing with the PvP zone, we always said it would be a little bit difficult to balance. You either make it so it's super rewarding and you need to go there, in which case it would get toxic because there'd be loads of, you know, snipers with muskets killing you, or you make it so that it's not that important and you can just go and get in and get out and nobody's really bothered about it, and then it's effectively dead. It was hard to balance. They've not balanced it, and I don't think you can, or at least I don't think Amazon will. So the free fall zone kind of made me a little bit like, it's okay, not bad, it is what it is. What I really enjoyed with New World Eternum was the Gorgon raid. The Gorgon, for me, is some of the best content I've ever experienced in New World. I really, really like the Gorgon raid. I actually say I think my favorite content might be Arena, then my second favorite might be Gorgon, and my third will probably be Outpost Rush. But the Gorgon difficulty for me, beautiful. The rewards, beautiful. I know it's a little bit gated by the community, and that's always going to be a problem in a game where players get to dictate who's in and who's not. Having a queuable Gorgon is apparently something that's going to be coming at the end. Well, I was going to say the end of this year, but it's on the end of the roadmap or whatever that is in time-wise. I don't know. But for me,
what they have to and definitely need to add to the game, especially when it comes to the party finder, is the party finder needs to be cross server, because while it works great and you have matchmaking all a part of that, I should be able to open it up and say, hey guys, jump into my group, and regardless of what server, then you jump in and then we go do the content that we want to do. That's what I'm personally hoping for. I don't think I've seen that on the roadmap, but here we are.
Gorgon is literally perfect. Yes, you kind of need the right kind of damage, like you need the gear to do it. You don't really have to vet everybody's gear precisely. And yes, you need people to actually do the mechanics and stuff like that. I think it's beautiful. I think if we would have had that kind of content from the start, New World would have been a completely different game. For me, Gorgon is completely perfect. The worm is kind of an example where it's too much for me, the worm. Yes, I actually kind of need to do the worm, by the way. But the reason I'm not doing it is because I don't want to go through all that faff of having, exact specific right builds and right team combinations and stuff like that. It's kind of like too much effort for me. Now, I would have possibly been up for doing the worm had I not already done it. Right, basically, we did it when it came out. I don't really have the impetus to go ahead and do it now. Yes, it would be doing it for slightly better rewards than what I currently have, but I just don't fancy that challenge. For me, the Gorgon is perfect, the worm is too much, but for other people, they might not agree with that. However, that does lead me in to the first problem that we come across. We get a great Gorgon raid, and when do we next get the raid? Well, you check the roadmap, and it's right at the very end of the roadmap. We didn't get it in the next season. We're probably not going to get...
Yeah, from a raid perspective, I could see them, just like with Destiny, releasing a yearly expansion that has the raid that really makes that September, October, November season of New World, and then you just kind of have the other stuff that that trickles out throughout the year, followed by expansion, raid, really drawing that in, really bringing kind of that kind of race mentality, world first race mentality, which I could see easily becoming a thing, because yeah, people like raids.
Get it in the subsequent season. We're not getting this kind of like raid progression. Unfortunately, for me, MMOs are typically about like raid nights. New World kind of has it, but we're not going to have it if we don't actually get raids consistently. And that, I think, is a big loss. So they're making me a little bit angry there. I would have liked another raid straight after that one. Yes, I know it's content and, it would have taken time, etc. But that's what MMOs are. You kind of need that content, and the raid is kind of the pinnacle of the PvE content. It's rewarding, they're fun. That's what I think it needs more of. We didn't get it, and we're not getting it for a while. And that then leads me on to what is happening with the future of New World and the future of seasons. Well, Season 7 brings the idea of seasonal servers, and this is where I kind of get a little bit frustrated with the actual direction, holistically, where this game is heading. Let me tell you how I feel about seasonal servers. I think by default, they don't necessarily belong in an MMO. They can do if it's like a seasonal server where you're playing catch up, and they can do if it's like an old classic version or something like, classic World of Warcraft or hardcore World of Warcraft. But I don't really agree with having these different rule sets in an MMO where you actually go back and play the same content. It might work in a couple of different games, and I think like a hyper server where you like catch up would also possibly work. And to be fair, the PvP server kind of is that. But traditionally, I think seasonal servers and making a new character is pretty dumb for an MMO. That's ARPG kind of level of content.
That's true.
The meme is
That's
going to be
ARPG.
that New World is an ARPG. But for me,
I've struggled with that, especially when it comes to like things like Diablo and restarting. It's like, yeah, I think that the game's the right game. Like No Rest for the Wicked. We know that there's a restart basically happening on April the 30th. And if you guys follow that game or are interested in that game, we're going to be live streaming. We're going to be having a lot of fun breaking that down here in a couple of days. But I guess 10 days from the time of this recording. But it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, it's really tough because there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, I keep investing in my character. That's where I think the cross progression is going to end up helping, because then it doesn't feel like I'm so isolated that whether I'm working on this character or that character, that I have those options. And that's where I think I really want to see that cross server party finder, so that way more of the community can easily play together without having to transfer servers.
I like about MMOs is that long-term character progression.
Yeah.
And seasonal servers do not give me that. I fundamentally just disagree with the concept, and I'm kind of hoping they scrap them. Secondly, the PvP version of this server I don't think has worked for two reasons. The first reason is that I actually don't think open world PvP is what most players in the MMO genre actually like.
You're correct.
There are a lot of PvPers who play New World, and yes, there are a lot of PvPers who play video games, like if you look on Twitch,
But in terms of MMOs, like they are a minority, a vocal minority, and I think a minority that people need to kind of like listen. That's why I think the seasonal server is interesting, but ultimately I think the better choice outside of a season is literally just having a server that is that server that with that rule set, so anybody can kind of jump in. Maybe you don't allow transfers. It's always like, yeah, we got to create a character and this is what it is. Maybe we can't transfer off, but it is the PvP always on server. Love to hear your thoughts on that one.
Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, Marvels, Rivals, and all this kind of stuff. PvP games are popular, but I don't necessarily think PvP MMOs have ever really been that popular. There's some counter examples, of course. Albion Online, Classic WoW with its PvP mode is kind of interesting as well. But in the main, that's how I feel about PvP servers. So I think it's kind of a bad choice from the start. And then secondly, one that I think a lot of PvPers will actually agree, even the ones who like the open world PvP, the way that they've implemented it is kind of a bit turgid and a little bit rubbish. First and foremost, there were level 65s killing level 15s. No kind of like corruption or criminal system meant that people were getting griefed, and you know, I think that's part of the concern with PvP servers that I actually have, but that definitely happened with the Season 7 PvP servers. Secondly, a lot of PvPers didn't really like the setup of the server, and it starts with having to chop down trees and that being the most efficient way of leveling up. Now, conceptually, I don't think that's as bad as people say. When you think about games that are PvP games, a lot of the times you are actually fighting over resources. Like that's the whole stick of Ashes of Creation, for example. That's what they want you to fight over. And I think like Dune Awakening will be about fighting over the spice. Fighting over resources.
I'm really actually looking forward to playing and checking out Dune Awakening. I've actually enjoyed kind of dabbling in a handful of games, even though I haven't played the Ashes and I paid for it. So maybe I can find a time slot and get caught up on what's going on with Ashes of Creation. Plenty of things to talk about there. I'm man, there's just so many really, like, I love the MMO, man. I guess the channel name is fitting, but there's so many things that are like coming out that I'm really interested in checking out. I'm, interested in continuing my progress in New World. Still on my weight loss journey, so I haven't been able to step back into Final Fantasy 14 yet. In terms of the story and some of the stuff that they've announced there sounds exciting. Lots of good things are happening. A lot of options too. I really want to step back into Final Fantasy 11 as well. Like, man, I need to clone myself. I need a version of me that can just play video games, and then the version of me that goes to work to pay the bills.
This kind of makes sense, but I think just chopping down trees aimlessly with no competition was probably a little bit rubbish. I also think that it's a little bit weird the way that they've done the gearing. I don't want to go into a big tirade about this, but either the gearing is so expensive that nobody's wearing the gear, or it's so cheap that it doesn't matter. It's just a little bit awkward to balance, which inevitably a lot of things with PvP are. But most of the time, the PvPers aren't wearing the new stuff, or if they are, they're going to play like a ratty build where they're not going to die. And for me, ultimately, even if you do like it, which by the way, if you do like it, fair enough, I'm not trying to take it away from you because it's already happened. But for me, the whole implementation has been a little bit meh. I kind of wish they would have done something seasonally like the PvP server, but on the main servers that were completely optional. Could they not have taken all of those mechanics, put them on the main servers, but have it run for like 4 weeks or something, and just say, go at it. These materials will drop, but these ones won't. But you have to flag up if you want to wear these items. Maybe give a little bit of reward for doing it. I just feel like actual content on your normal character would have been better, but that's because I'm against seasonal characters. And I think if you're going to do a PvP server, it would also help if it was actually going to be permanent. I played the PvP server, and honestly, the fact that my character was just going to be another character that I had that I probably wasn't going to play just put me right off. If they would have done a PvP server at the launch of Eternum, maybe I would have mained it and maybe it would have been interesting, and then I could have had a PvP character and my legacy character. But just the way we have it, I felt like it's fallen flat. So yeah, not a big fan of what they've been doing there. However, what they've done recently, which you know about at this point, is the Outpost Rush map. Now, I've been playing the Outpost Rush map. I actually streamed it all weekend. Like, I did a massive, like, 50-hour stream and then streamed it 9 hours the next day and 8 hours the next day. I did a lot of this map, and I've got to tell you, I really, really liked it. I'm not going to do a full critique here because, again, I could make a very long video just about the Outpost Rush map, but I liked it. There's a couple of like things that probably need addressing. The bridges are pretty pointless. One side seems to get into the middle before the other. One side you can actually sneak up onto the rocks onto the bridge where you can't do it on the other side. A lot of people are just ignoring the top half of the map, but actually I think that's kind of okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Passageway from mid to top, but that's just my version of that. They don't have to do that. And then players simply don't know how to play it because they're all fighting mid where the actual side points are where you get the points. I like the new map. I thought it was really good, visually very good. I liked how like chaotic it is. Some classes are better than others on it. I really liked it. Some people didn't, but I think a lot of us did. When that gets implemented into the live game, which by the way looks like it might be around like May 10th or something like that, I'm going to be very, very happy. What I would say though is that I really hope they kind of don't just have it like the arena map. I don't really like this system where it's on for a week or two and then they change for another week or two. What we kind of need for both arena and Outpost Rush is that you queue into one and you don't know which one you're getting, and it's just like 50-50 basically. I think that would be way more fun to not know what you're getting. It will keep.
I've seen also where they kind of have it based off various different times. So it's like it kind of says, hey, for the next hour and a half, it's going to be this map. Next hour and a half after that map, and just kind of rotates. I don't know if that would end up having people like, I'm just not going to queue. But if you're wanting to play the mode, that or 50-50, I think, that makes sense. The question ends up being is that, as they add in new maps, because I would assume with this OPR map, that means that we're going to get more OPR maps in the future. It'll be neat to see how that kind of plays out in the long run.
Keep things fresh. Otherwise, you're going to have people being like, oh, it's this map. I think that feeling will sort of dissipate if it's a little bit random. But yeah, I really like the Outpost Rush map. But oddly, that kind of makes
the risk
me
of
more
people
frustrated
dropping.
at the minute. I really like that. And then I'm annoyed at all of
Actually, to bring that back, the reason why you would end up wanting to have that kind of time so that if somebody queues in, gets a map that they don't want, that they immediately just disconnect and requeue. You could also manage that by having some kind of timeout penalty, but it'd have to be something in excess of what a normal run would take. Otherwise people would take whatever the shortest pathway is forward.
the other strange things they're doing. Well, and the fact that the Outpost Rush map isn't coming, we think, for another 3 months, basically. It's kind of wild to me that they're doing it like this. I think we got it in a preview form because the PTR has kind of disappeared. We don't have a PTR anymore, so the PTR was live. And you know what? I actually think in that regard, it makes sense because people actually played this Outpost Rush map. If you put it on a PTR, people don't really do that. People get a couple of games and then it just stops. This way I thought worked in that sense, and hopefully they'll listen to feedback and we'll get some good changes. But we need more, right? Basically, I don't want to be greedy. We need more, and unfortunately what we're getting, what we just tried, is only coming out in May. I don't want to be like too dramatic, but basically we got season 7 in January, we're getting season 8 in May. Now it's not actually 5 months, it's more like actually 3.5 because it's going to be the end of January and the start of May, but it just sounds bad, it feels bad. And if I'm honest with you, I don't think 2025 is going to change that much. The way I see 2025 right now is kind of similar to the way I see 2024. I think from this point until round about August, it's going to be relatively quiet. If I was a betting man, which I kind of am, but I'm not really, I would suggest and bet that we are going to get an expansion at the end of this year. Now, that's completely, purely speculative on my part, but why would they give us more content if they're not charging for the content? They're obviously going to try and milk us a little bit, and my teats are ready to be milked. And I think the best way of doing that will be an expansion. There's a chance it could go free to play or some other kind of like alternative that I've not seen. Maybe we'll get honing with
gosh, no, I don't think free to play is the right mode, especially for sandbox MMOs. Like, I don't think free to play as a business model. Buy to play for sure, some form of skin in the game for everybody to at least jump into the game, etc. I do think, and I've made this kind of prediction, I could see them partnering up with Game Pass, for example, and opening up the game to more players that way. I think that would be a service that kind of makes sense, but time will tell.
you know, with the Umbral Shard V2. I don't know. I'm not a savant, but I am very interested in the future of the game. I just think we're going to be a little bit quiet from now until October again, probably. But yeah, they're kind of making me angry at the minute because I really like the Outpost Rush map. It makes me angry that we didn't have it like 2.5 years ago, but they talk now about how they're in the content pipeline mode. So maybe we are.
With all due respect, Jay, like I'd have to say, I understand the frustration, but it's like when then you finally get it, and I've seen some gamers make the case, I should have been here 2 years ago. It's like, if you're having fun, great. If you're not having fun, I get it. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and, I don't know, somebody hands me a sandwich and be like, but I was hungry 2 days ago. It's like, all right. It's like, either eat the sandwich or don't.
Are going to get different maps, different game modes. It's all on the roadmap. That looks sensational. The future of the game sounds good on the paper of the roadmap. In practice, it's probably not going to change until the end of the year, I think. And I think they should do away with the idea of seasonal servers. I do not think they belong in any guise in an MMO, and I don't think they belong in the way that Amazon are doing them. Having a hyper server, where you would like catch up every 6 months, and maybe it's just for a shorter period than 3 months, would be kind of enjoyable. Give people the option of catching up, give people that fresh start feeling. But for me, the PvP server was literally just deja vu, and I was fatigued. I didn't want to do it, so I stopped. So that's what's going to happen, right? I think New World's going to be quiet for the rest of the year. Like, we are going to start trending down. That's completely fine. I would expect them to do that. I kind of want them to do it in a way. I want them now to go on a little bit of not a hiatus in terms of development, but a hiatus in terms of what they show us and what they present to us, and then really pop off in October with an expansion, because the console players will buy it, the rest of the PC players will buy it, and I'll buy it. But yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, expansion in the fall makes a lot of sense. That's where you'd see a level cap increase, so it's where you get to see a part of the roadmap. They're talking kind of their the big term goals, all going to be really good in that regards. Yeah, and that's just the kind of the season where you see this with every MMO. Like, it has like a 2 to 3 month kind of, you know, pop, and then it kind of goes into a lull. And I don't even know of an MMO that doesn't have that same kind of model. I guess it all really depends on if you do a yearly expansion or an every other year expansion, because that window is going to vary based off of that.
Fan of seasonal models. I understand they probably did it to sell the season pass, but I think it's been a failure. I think they should sometimes just accept some things have failed, and instead of trying to redo them in a way, I'm pretty sure that the reason we had seasonal servers is because the season pass probably isn't making enough like money. Well, I'm not pretty sure about that. It's a complete guess, but I kind of feel like it is. And they were like, well, why don't we make a seasonal server and then charge the season pass for the rewards? Yeah, I think sometimes you've got to count your losses. Anyway, I'll not hang around. I'm done. This spot on my head is giant, by the way. I think it's actually going to take over my head. I have a huge forehead though, so it's got a long way to go. Anyway, have a beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.
Me too. Thank you, Jay, for that. So lots to kind of be excited about. Like I said at the start of the video, they've been filming the next dev update. We're going to do a live reaction of that. We're going to break it down, see what's all included. It's going to be fun. Because we're in that kind of mid-lull kind of season. We're going to go into the summer, and then that's really usually where that kicks up. Now, what I hope is that they just announce, hey, new expansion in the fall. The kind of secrecy and the kind of the slow rollout of information is frustrating, honestly. Like, as a content creator, but also as a gamer, like, I'd love for them to come out and say expansion this fall, expansion next fall. They don't have to go into the details of the next fall as the expansion, but it would be like, hey, yeah. So that way, when people are saying, hey, should I jump back in or should I invest in this expansion? Is the game in trouble? It's like, yeah, no, the game's the game. And next year, there's going to be another expansion. And the year after that, there's going to be another expansion. And then that, I think, in and of itself is a win-win-win. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. I really appreciate, for those of you who stuck with the channel while I haven't been making content, welcome in, welcome back. For those of you new, I'd love to be able to earn your subs, so sound off if I do. I just want to say that I'm rooting for you. I know we talk a lot about the real stuff in real life, and I just want to encourage you guys that no matter how bleak and dark it can be, like, there's always light, there's always going to be hope, and it starts with believing in yourself and giving yourself that level of grace. Like, whether you believe you can't or you believe you can, you're right. And I want you to believe in yourself and believe that whatever is going on in your world, that you can overcome. You can get out of it. There is hope. We've all been there. You're not alone. Anybody saying, any voice in your head saying you're alone or you're a failure or all that are just lies, because you can keep picking yourself up. And if you need help, it isn't a weakness. It's a sign of strength. I want to encourage you guys to be focusing on your health, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. All three of those things make you who you are. Wishing for you, praying for you. Love you very much. God bless you. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care.